The galactic throne room stretched endlessly, its crystalline walls reflecting the cold light of 1,000 distant stars. Empress Annie stood at the observatory window, her silver robes flowing like liquid moonlight, watching the final battle unfold on the holographic display before her. For 3 centuries, she had ruled the Andromeda Coalition with absolute power, commanding fleets that could shatter worlds and armies that numbered in the billions. Yet in all those years, she had never felt more alone than she did in this moment. Below, on the war-torn planet of Kepler-4, a single human soldier made his last stand. His name was Massey, a scout from Earth's Expeditionary Force, separated from his unit during the Coalition's surprise attack. Annie had been monitoring his movements for the past 72 hours, fascinated by something she couldn't quite name. Every species she had conquered had either surrendered quickly or died fighting with predictable ferocity. But this human, he was different. Massey had no chance of survival. His supplies were depleted, his communications array destroyed, and his combat suit was running on emergency power. 3 of Annie's elite hunting parties surrounded his position in the ruins of an ancient city. By all logical calculations, he should have given up hours ago. Instead, he fought with a creativity that bordered on artistry. Annie watched as Massey rigged a magnetic trap using components from his damaged equipment, catching the Coalition soldiers in a field that sent them flying into a crumbling wall. He used the planet's acidic rain to his advantage, channeling it through pipes to create defensive barriers. When one of her commanders sent a combat drone after him, Massey somehow reprogrammed it mid-flight and turned it against its own forces. "Your Majesty," her chief advisor, Valthar, approached cautiously. "The human cannot escape. Should we not simply end this? Your time is too valuable for such distractions." Annie didn't turn from the display. "No, I want to see what he does next." Valthar's eyes blinked in confusion, but he said nothing more. The Empress's word was absolute. As the siege continued, Annie found herself doing something unprecedented. She accessed Massey's service record. Born on Earth's Arctic colonies, orphaned at 12, enlisted at 18, decorated for valor 3 times. His psychological profile noted an unusual trait. He seemed to thrive in impossible situations, not because he was fearless, but because he genuinely believed there was always one more option, one more chance. Hope, that's what it was. The human carried hope like a weapon. Annie had extinguished hope from 100 worlds. She had watched civilizations crumble, seen entire species accept defeat. Hope was the thing she destroyed first in any conquest because it made subjugation so much easier. But watching Massey fight, outnumbered and outgunned, never surrendering, never despairing, it awakened something in her that had been dormant for centuries. A memory. Before she became Empress, before the genetic enhancements and the crown, Annie had been just a girl from a conquered world herself. She remembered hiding in ruins much like these, terrified and alone. When the previous empire had invaded, she remembered a soldier she couldn't even recall his species now who had found her, but hadn't reported her position. He'd simply given her a ration pack and whispered, "Survive. That's all that matters." She'd survived, and in surviving, she'd climbed, schemed, and fought until she sat upon the very throne of those who had destroyed her world. But somewhere along the way, she'd become the thing she once feared. The loneliness of absolute power had frozen whatever humanity she once possessed. Until now, Massey was down to his last ammunition cell. The Coalition forces were closing in. Annie's hand hovered over the communication panel. She could order them to stand down with a single word, but that would reveal her weakness, that she cared about the fate of one insignificant enemy soldier. Then Massey did something that changed everything. Instead of firing his last rounds at the approaching soldiers, he disabled his weapons' safety protocols and overloaded the power cell, creating a makeshift explosive. But he didn't use it as a bomb. He used it to blast through the floor of the ruin he was defending, revealing ancient underground tunnels, a possible escape route. Even facing certain death, he chose survival over a meaningless last stand. He chose hope over glory. Annie's finger pressed the communication button. "All units, withdraw immediately," she commanded. The throne room fell into shocked silence. Valthar stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Your Majesty, I don't understand. The human has earned his life," and he said quietly. "Cease all hostile operations on Kepler 440b. Pull our forces back to the neutral zone. But the strategic value is nothing compared to what I've learned today," and he interrupted, her voice carrying the weight of imperial authority. "This war ends. Now." She watched as Massey emerged from the tunnels 3 kilometers away, limping but alive, his eyes scanning the sky where coalition ships were retreating. He would never know why. He would probably never know that an Empress had watched his desperate struggle and remembered what it meant to be mortal, to fight not because victory was certain, but because the fight itself mattered. Annie turned from the window, her silver robes swirling. For the first time in 300 years, she felt something other than emptiness. The loneliness remained, but now it was accompanied by something else, a spark of the person she used to be. "Velthar, prepare a message to the Human Federation. We're opening negotiations for a ceasefire, Your Majesty. The coalition will see this as weakness," and he smiled, a genuine expression that felt foreign on her face. "Perhaps, or perhaps they'll see it as something far more dangerous. Evolution. That human soldier taught me something today. He reminded me that survival isn't just about conquest. Sometimes it's about knowing when to stop fighting." As she walked toward the council chambers, Annie glanced back one last time at the display. Massey was setting up a distress beacon, still hoping for rescue, still refusing to give up. She silently wished him well. The stranger who had done the unthinkable made an Empress remember what it meant to be alive.